Welcome to today's class, Beginner Yoga Flow to Feel Good. This Yoga Flow class is perfect for any time you want a complete but short practice to improve your posture and boost your mood. I'm Sharon. I teach beginner-friendly mood-boosting yoga flow so you can go from low mood, stress or anxiety to improved emotional well-being. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to be notified every time I post a new video about mood-boosting yoga and meditation. Before we start, in the description below you can access my free simple technique to improve your mood. To begin, start laying on your back, knees bent, feet flat on the ground. Find a comfortable position. And just take a moment to observe your whole body on the ground. Start to bring your awareness to your breathing, breathing deeply into your belly. And as you exhale, feel the weight of your body sink down into the floor. Use your breath to stay connected to the present moment. Open your eyes and bring your feet to hip width distance, quite close to the seat, and pressing the feet into the ground. Inhale to raise the hips and raise the arms at the same time, and exhale to lower the hips and the arms. So it's a moving bridge. So inhale to raise the hips and the arms, exhale to lower. One more like that. Inhale and exhale to lower. And then just take the knees to each side, just windshield wiping the legs a couple of times, getting a little bit of a twist and movement in the spine. And then to come up, either roll up or roll onto your side to come up in the way that's right for you. So I'm just going to roll up. And then coming straight into tabletop position. So the wrists are underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Inhale to arch the spine, looking up, tailbone up. Exhale to round. Inhale, looking up, arching the spine, pressing the chest through the arms. Exhale to round, looking towards the thighs, pressing the hands evenly into the floor. Inhale. Exhale, and you can do these to your own breath with synchronizing breath and movement, getting some really nice movement into the spine. Coming back to neutral, walk the hands forwards, as far forwards as you can, and then lowering the forehead to the floor. So the hips are still above the knees, the arms are straight, and the elbows are lifted off the floor. So this is puppy pose. Sinking into the floor, should get a really good stretch in the arms, shoulders. Some nice long deep breathing. And then slide onto your belly, so the elbows come to the floor, coming onto the belly. The elbows are underneath the shoulders, the hands are pressing down, the toes, the big toes and little toes are pressing down, and draw the belly in for Sphinx pose. And if it feels comfortable on the neck, do a couple of head and neck rolls each way. So if it doesn't feel right, then just don't do it. I'm going to just take a couple of rolls, getting a nice stretch in the neck, slowly. So of course if this doesn't feel right or if it makes you dizzy, then just stay in the normal Sphinx pose, drawing the belly in, pressing the hands and the arms down. So a couple of times in each direction. pressing the floor away from you, so being careful not to collapse into the shoulders. And then when you get to the chin to the chest, release, bring the hands by the ribs for Cobra. So the big toes and little toes are still pressing down, the legs are active, the inner elbows are tight in, and we're actually going to float the hands. So we're going to do a floating Cobra. So raise the hands just a little bit off the floor, still keeping the elbows tucked into the sides, and inhale to lift the chest. So you should really feel your back muscles work. So it's a really small back bend, you're not going to get much movement from this position. And then exhale to release back down. So this time we'll do a Cobra with the hands down. I want you to really feel that the back is working. So it's good to do a floating Cobra sometimes so that you can really feel that the back is working in this pose. So the hands are pressing down a little, and it might mean that you can come up a little bit further. The inner elbows are tucked into the ribs. Last inhale, and then exhale to release. Tuck the toes and come back. The hips come back, and then finding downward facing dog. So the palms and the fingers are pressing down, the toes tuck under, lift the hips up and back, and pressing the floor away. So if you're feeling a little bit tight, that's normal at the beginning of a class. So the heels lift, the knees bend. Really working on straightening the arms, stretching through the shoulders, lengthening the spine. One more breath here. And then walking the hands and the feet towards each other. The feet are about hip width distance apart. The fingertips come to the shins, and we come into a flat back position. So the knees can be as bent as they need to be. We want to try and get the roundness out of the spine. The feet are pressing down. So if you feel like you're rounding the spine here, then you might need to bend the knees more, and you might even need to come up much higher with the hands. So the important thing is that we're really lengthening, elongating that spine. Tucking the chin a little bit and looking down at the mat. Take the hands to the hips, and with bent knees, straightening up to a standing position. So we're pivoting from the hips, leading with the chest, and coming up. And then come into mountain pose, so bringing the hands to prayer position, the thumbs against the chest. Sweep the arms up on an inhale, clasp the hands and turn the palms up to the ceiling. And then as you exhale, bend to one side. So the hips are still facing forwards, the shoulders are still facing forwards. Getting a nice stretch in the side of the body, the feet are pressing down. On your next inhale, reaching up, and then exhaling, bending to the other side. So just check in that your hips are facing forwards, your shoulders are facing forwards, stretching the other side, feet are pressing down. On your next inhale, reaching up, and then release. So just walk into the front of your mat. The feet are about hip width distance, coming back to prayer position. Inhale, sweep the arms up, reaching all the way up, palms to touch. Exhale, soft knees and dive with a flat back. Release the head and neck at the bottom. Inhale, flat back, fingertips to the shins. Exhale, fingertips to the mat, right foot steps back to a lunge, the back knee lowers. Inhale, sweep the arms up, palms to touch. Exhale, release the hands to the mat, downward facing dog. So find your downward dog. The knees can still be bent, heels lifted, pressing the hands down. Last inhale. Exhale, lower the knees, step the right foot forwards between the hands. Finding your low lunge, inhale up. Exhale, lower the hands. So this time rock back so that you're straightening that front right foot. Try and keep your hips even, stretching the back of that leg. And then put that foot back down, place the left hand by the right foot and sweep the right arm up to a twist. And then exhale to lower. Stepping forwards and fold. Inhale to flat back, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fold and release the head and neck. Inhale, reverse dive, coming up, pivoting from the hips. And exhale, mountain pose. And just taking a moment there. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, soft knees and dive with a flat back. Release the head and neck. Inhale, flat back, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fingers to the mat. Left foot this time steps back to a lunge. The back knee lowers. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And exhale, hands to mat, downward facing dog. Pushing the floor away, pressing the hands and the fingers down, pressing the chest towards the thighs. Last inhale. Exhale, lower the knees. Left foot steps forwards between the hands. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, lower the hands. And then we're going to straighten that front leg, lifting the front toes. Try and keep the hips even. So again, we're stretching the back of that leg. Breathing nice and deeply. And then rebend, flatten out that foot. The right hand is next to the foot and sweep the arm up on an inhale. So twisting. And then release on an exhale. Stepping forwards and folding. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, pivot from the hips, reverse dive. Reaching up, and exhale back to mountain pose, and just take a long inhale and exhale here. So from here, sit back into an imaginary chair, so the weight is back in the heels, the toes are light, the hands are still at the chest, feeling the strength in the legs. And then step the left foot back to warrior one. So the back foot flattens, and for more stability you can shuffle that right foot over to the edge of the mat. So don't worry if you're at more of a diagonal. The hips and the chest are facing towards the front of the mat, but it doesn't have to go all the way. Release the hands, clasp them behind and get a really good stretch in the fronts of the shoulders and the chest. And then straighten that front leg, keeping the hands clasped behind you. We're going to angle the upper body forwards, and you'll feel more of a stretch in that front leg. Keeping a flat back position, and you might find that the hands can raise a little bit more. And that knee might be still quite bent, so we're working towards a straight leg, but it's quite a strong stretch, so don't worry if it doesn't straighten. You'll still feel that. And then coming back to warrior one, rebend that knee above the ankle, pivot the back foot, bring the hands to prayer position, and then step forwards. And you might want to just walk out the feet a little bit, coming back to mountain pose, the feet are hip width, and then sitting back into your chair. So again, the weight is in the heel, so you should feel a lightness in the toes. A couple of breaths in chair pose. And then stepping the other leg back for a warrior one. So the back foot is flat, and again you might have your upper body at more of a diagonal. And for more stability, just shuffle that front foot over to the edge of the mat. And then clasp the hands behind the back, getting a nice stretch in the front of the chest, the shoulders. You might find that the hands come together, you might not, just going as far as is comfortable. Breathing nice and deeply. And then straighten that front leg, and then leaning forwards with a flat back, maybe taking the hands up a little bit higher. So again, you're feeling a really strong stretch in that front leg, so it may be quite bent still, as long as you're working towards that straight leg and you'll feel that stretch. Breathing deeply. Trying to keep that breath nice and long and even. And then to come out, re-bend back to warrior one, shoulders above the hips, hands back to prayer. Pivot that back foot so that you can then step front. And just taking a moment in mountain pose to reset. And then holding on to the elbows, we're just going to roll down. Nice and slowly rolling the back, bending the knees and coming down into a forward fold. So the feet are about hip width distance. You might want to sway or move the head and neck. The feet are pressing down, the sitting bones are pressing up. And then release and stepping back into child's pose. So the knees are wide, sitting back towards or on the heels. The hips might be higher, so the forehead is towards or on the floor, reaching the arms forwards. So rather than just relaxing the elbows on the floor, making this more of an active child's pose. So the elbows are lifted, the arms are straight, feeling a stretch in the sides of the waist. And then bring the hands underneath the shoulders and rolling up to kneeling. So a camel pose now. So kneeling, tucking the toes underneath you. So the knees are hip width distance, the feet are hip width distance. Place the hands on the lower back, the elbows are pointed backwards. And then leaning back, but using the strength of the front of your body as you do that. So only going back as far as is comfortable, maybe the chin lifts a little bit. And then either coming out of that, or if you want to go into half camel, you place one hand on the heel and raise the other arm up. So it's a strong back bend here, so if it's too much then just stay with the previous version or come out and just rest in kneeling. Taking a couple of breaths here. Carefully coming out and then switching sides. So the elbows are back, finding that back bend, using the abdominal muscle so it's a strong back bend, and then maybe placing the other hand on the heel and reaching the other arm up. Pressing the hips forwards. Breathing, the breath is nice and long. And then carefully coming out and then coming back to kneeling. Coming to all fours, and we'll just do a couple of cat-cows again. So inhaling to arch the back, exhale to round. A couple more times to your own breath, synchronizing breath and movement. And then come into neutral. Cross the ankles and sit down onto your sitting bones. So extend the legs forwards and place the fingertips behind, lift the chest, So if this is too tight for the legs, then bend the knees, the toes are pointed up to the ceiling, and this is a nice position to just reset before and between different seated poses. And then bring one foot to the inside of the thigh, fingertips behind, so again that knee can be bent at the front, inhaling to lift, and exhaling to maybe fold forwards. If this is too much, then just stay upright. And maybe bring the hands in front. So if you are tipping forwards, just make sure that you're tipping forwards from the hips and not by rounding the back. So we're trying to keep a nice neutral spine. And that foot that's on the inside of the thigh, it might feel more comfortable if it's more on the inside of the knee. So you might want to just play around with that foot position. Taking a couple of breaths, should be quite warm now, so stretching the back of the leg and getting a nice external rotation of that hip. And release. Coming back to that neutral position, this is called Dandasana or staff pose. Just to reset. And then switching sides, so the other foot comes to the inside of the leg or to the inside of the knee. The fingertips are behind, inhaling to lift the chest and exhaling to maybe tip forwards from the hips. And that knee can be bent, the toes are pointed up, and maybe the hands come forwards. Breathing nice and deeply. So again, if you find that your back is rounding too much, then come to a more upright position and maybe keep the fingertips behind you. And you'll still feel that stretch in the back of the leg. And the other hip this time is getting a nice external rotation. And release, coming back to Dandasana, just to reset. And then make sure you've got enough space behind you to roll down, rolling down nice and slowly using the strength of your core. Then taking the right ankle across the left thigh, and pressing that right knee away from you, you'll feel a stretch in the hip. Taking a few breaths there. And then extend the left leg and put the right foot onto the left knee. And as you twist the knee over to the left, shift the hips to the right. So the hand can help the knee twist over, and then maybe taking the other arm out to the side or bending the elbow to a cactus arm position. So a nice spine twist here. And try and find a position where this feels quite relaxing. And seeing if you can let go of any muscles that don't need to be working. So we're not trying to get that knee all the way over to the floor. The thigh is in more of a parallel position. And then coming back up to neutral, realign the hips and then switching sides. So this time the left ankle over the right thigh, pressing that left knee gently away, feeling that stretch in the hip. Starting to wind down, so again just scan the body and see what muscles don't need to be working right now. Extend the right leg, place the left foot on the knee, And as you twist that knee over to the right side, shift the hips to the left. Allow that knee to twist over. And then maybe take the arm out to the side, the left arm, or cactus that arm. The right hand can help that knee over to the side. Taking a few breaths. And then coming back to neutral, realign the hips and the spine. Hug the knees into the chest. And then final relaxation, so you can either have the knees bent, feet flat, or extend the legs. For Shavasana, maybe rotating the hands so the palms are facing up. Hands away from the body, and just taking a few moments to rest and relax.